Have you ever wondered if fate is real? If those moments that seem like mistakes are actually leading you exactly where you need to go? Before you dive into this incredible true story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to see more life-changing moments that remind us how love finds us in the most unexpected places. Michael Collins clutched his 5-year-old daughter Emma's small hand as they navigated the sterile hallways of Memorial Hospital. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across his exhausted face. 3 days of Emma's persistent fever had finally driven him to the emergency room at 2 a.m., after her temperature spiked to 103 despite the children's Tylenol. "Daddy, I'm thirsty," Emma whispered, her voice raspy from coughing. "Just a little longer, sweetheart. The doctor said to go to pediatrics for some tests, and then we can get you something to drink." Michael glanced at the directions scribbled on the back of an appointment card. 4th floor, left at the elevator, right at the water fountain. Simple enough. Except nothing had been simple since Sarah died. 18 months of solo parenting had taught Michael that even the easiest tasks became monumental when you were doing them alone, running on empty, with a sick child in tow. The elevator doors opened to the 4th floor, and Michael turned left as instructed. But there was no water fountain. Just an endless corridor of closed doors and dimmed lights. Emma's small fingers tightened around his as she coughed again. "I think we're lost, Em," he admitted, running his free hand through his disheveled hair. That's when he saw her, a woman in blue scrubs standing at a nurse's station, the only sign of life in the quiet hallway. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and she was reviewing a chart with intense concentration. "Excuse me," Michael called out, his voice echoing slightly in the empty corridor. "We're trying to find pediatrics for some blood work." The woman looked up, and for a moment, Michael forgot about his exhaustion. Her eyes were kind, the warm brown of coffee with just a touch of cream, and they crinkled slightly at the corners when she smiled. "You're on the oncology floor," she said gently. "Pediatrics is on the other side of the building." She glanced down at Emma, who was leaning heavily against Michael's leg. "But it looks like your little one could use a break before another trek through the hospital." Her name tag read Dr. Olivia Chen, Oncology. "I'm Michael. This is Emma," he said, feeling oddly compelled to introduce themselves. "She's had a fever for 3 days that won't break." Dr. Chen knelt down to Emma's level. "That sounds pretty rough, Emma. Would you like some water while I help your dad find where you need to go?" Emma nodded, her eyes brightening slightly despite her illness. What Michael didn't know then was that this wrong turn would change everything. That Dr. Olivia Chen, who specialized in treating cancer patients with the same compassion she showed to a lost father and his sick daughter at 2 a.m., would become the center of their world. Emma's simple fever turned out to be pneumonia, requiring a 3-day hospital stay. During those 3 days, Dr. Chen stopped by regularly, even though Emma wasn't her patient. She brought coloring books and made Emma laugh despite the 4 in her tiny arm. She brought real coffee for Michael, not the watered-down cafeteria version, and sat with him when Emma napped. "You're not in my department," Michael said on the second day, confused by her continued presence. Olivia smiled, that same crinkle appearing at the corners of her eyes. "Let's just say I have a soft spot for brave little girls and their equally brave dads." What she didn't tell him then was that she'd lost her own father to cancer when she was Emma's age. That watching Michael's fierce devotion to his daughter healed something in her that had been broken for decades. When Emma was discharged, Michael found himself inventing reasons to return to the hospital. A forgotten stuffed animal. A thank you card. Coffee in the cafeteria that somehow always coincided with Olivia's break time. Their first real date happened 3 weeks later, a picnic in the park with Emma as their enthusiastic chaperone. Olivia brought homemade dumplings that her grandmother had taught her to make, and Emma declared them the best food in the universe. But their path wasn't without obstacles. 6 months into their relationship, one of Olivia's young patients, a 7-year-old boy named Theo, took a turn for the worse. Michael found her in the hospital chapel at midnight, silent tears streaming down her face. "I can't save him," she whispered when Michael sat beside her. "And I don't know how to tell his parents that we've run out of options." Michael took her hand. "You can't save everyone, Liv. But you make their journey less frightening. That matters." For the first time, he saw her vulnerability, the weight she carried caring for patients who might not survive despite her best efforts. And she saw his too, the fear that had lived in his heart since Sarah's sudden death that he might somehow fail Emma, that love always ended in loss. Their relationship deepened through these shared fears. Olivia taught Michael that it was okay to lean on someone again, that asking for help wasn't weakness. Michael showed Olivia that even in a world where children got sick and parents died too young, joy was still possible, essential, even. Emma adored Olivia from the start, but the true turning point came on the second anniversary of Sarah's death. Michael had been quiet all week, withdrawn in his grief. Olivia didn't push or try to replace Sarah's memory. Instead, she suggested they visit Sarah's grave together, bringing flowers and Emma's artwork. As Emma carefully arranged her drawings against her mother's headstone, Olivia knelt beside her. "Your mom would be so proud of you," she said softly. "Do you think she'd be mad that I love you too?" Emma asked, her small face serious. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. "I think love doesn't work that way, sweetheart. It multiplies, it doesn't divide. Your mom will always be your mom, and she'll always have a special place in your heart that belongs just to her." Michael, listening nearby, realized in that moment that he wanted to build a life with this woman who understood that love wasn't a finite resource, that his continued love for Sarah didn't diminish what he felt for Olivia. He proposed 3 months later, on the 1-year anniversary of their wrong turn in the hospital corridor. Emma helped, holding a small velvet box behind her back until the perfect moment. Their wedding was small but joyful. Emma served as both flower girl and best daughter, as she insisted on being called. Theo, the young patient who had defied all odds and gone into remission, was their ring bearer. Life wasn't perfect after they married. Olivia still lost patience. Michael still had moments of overwhelming grief for Sarah. Emma still tested boundaries as she grew into a spirited preteen. But they faced each challenge together, their bond strengthened by the understanding that they had found each other through chance, or perhaps something more meaningful than chance. 5 years after that wrong turn, they welcomed a baby boy they named Leo. As Michael watched Olivia rock their son to sleep, Emma leaning against her shoulder to sing her little brother a lullaby, he marveled at how completely his life had transformed. "What are you thinking about?" Olivia asked, catching his gaze. "I'm thinking about how getting lost was the best thing that ever happened to me," he replied. Olivia smiled, those familiar crinkles appearing at the corners of her eyes. "Some people might call that fate. I call it finding home," Michael said, joining his family in the soft glow of the nursery night light. "Sometimes, the wrong turn leads us exactly where we need to be. Sometimes, in our darkest moments, at 2 a.m. in a hospital corridor with a sick child and an empty coffee cup, we find the light that will guide us for the rest of our lives." If this story touched your heart, please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us how love finds us in the most unexpected ways, often when we need it most but believe in it least.